I'm Ellie and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be telling you guys about all the books that I read in June. June was a strange month for me, okay? I was really stressing about reading. I picked up a lot of books. I did not finish a lot of books. That's just how things happened. Oh wait, not June. What month am I talking about? July. July is the month in which I am speaking of. July was a very strange month for me. Today, I'm going to tell you about the 7 things that I read in July. I think this might be the lowest amount of reading that I've done in a month, and actually I only read 892 pages with 7 things. I listened to 3 audiobooks and that took up most of my month, honestly. I wasn't even in an audiobook mood. I just felt like I wasn't reading, therefore I needed to listen to audiobooks. And at the end of the month I did really get into listening to audiobooks at the gym, so that is something I think will continue. I read 1 graphic novel. No middle grade. I did read 1 short story collection. Then I read, I guess, 1 young adult book, and actually the young adult book was told in prose. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the things that I read in July. As always, I'm going to leave timestamps down below. You guys seem to really like that, so you guys can hop around and view whatever it is you want to view, because I know not all of you like graphic novels, not all of you like audiobooks, so you can click down there and bop around. What audiobooks did I listen to? I listened to The Wicked Girls, actually. I have a hard copy of this. I listened to The Wicked Girls. This cover just really appeals to me. I know that it's supposed to be like a mystery thriller. The setup for the story is that these 2 young girls have been convicted of murder. They like really gruesomely murdered this other girl, and it is like 20 or more years later, and we are following these 2 girls after all of these events. They both live 2 very different lives, separate lives. They haven't been in contact since. And this follows them in their lives as there are these new murders happening. The one works at this amusement park in which these murders are occurring, and the other one is a news reporter, journalist, whatever, and so she is on the case for this. I gotta say, I had to listen to over half of this audiobook, and it was a longer audiobook. I think it was over 14 hours long. I had to listen to over half of this audiobook before anything interesting happened. This is some seriously mundane stuff. Just get to hear about their daily lives, what they do at work, whether or not they're worried about being found out. They feel like the people around them know them, the drama that's happening with their friends and their lives. So for the most part, there wasn't really much going on. Especially since there's current murders happening, you think that would play a little more role in this. No, it's only really mentioned maybe 3 times in this whole story. Doesn't play that big of a role. We go further along, and once the action starts picking up, it was just so weird, and just even then it wasn't all that interesting. So for the most part, I was just really let down by this story. It just should have focused more on the murders and the action happening, and I just found it really unbelievable that these girls were convicted of murder in the first place. Like, things just did not add up enough. There wasn't enough suspense in this to really make it a thriller. There wasn't enough mystery in this to really make it a mystery, because I just didn't really care. We didn't really know much about the murders going on, and we didn't really know that much about the person who was doing the murderings. This was one of my lowest rated reads of the month, and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Just overall was really disappointed by this. I'm sorry. Another audiobook that I listened to was The Final 6. I was rushing to get this one done because I listened to it at the very end of the month. I kind of picked this up on a whim just because I was looking for things that were rather short after listening to The Wicked Girls. And this just seemed interesting enough. This is a YA dystopian sci-fi. It is about these contestants. I believe there's 24 of them. My brain is fuzzy with numbers. But this is about an apocalyptic world where the where nature has just taken over. There are tsunamis and earthquakes and tornadoes just rampaging the land. No one is safe. It's so unpredictable. About where 24 contestants are picked and they go to basically train at like the space camp kind of thing, and they are told they are going to be sent to one of Jupiter's moons to live in order to like eventually save civilization. This follows two main characters, one of which is Leo, and he is one of the contestants that is picked, obviously, and he had to watch his family drown, and so he has nothing. And then we also have our other, who is a girl, why can't I think of her name? Anyway, she actually has a family, but her brother is very ill, so she doesn't want to leave him. However, she's very smart and he's like very athletic kind of deal. So they're needed for the team for different things. Eventually it comes down to only 6 people are going to be chosen, and so this is about them going and learning things and who gets picked off and who doesn't. But there's some plot twists along the way. Okay, people start acting really mysterious. I think that they're not telling us the whole truth. Like, something happened, there was another mission that failed and they won't tell us why. Like, it's very suspicious. Everyone is acting sketchy as hell. So yeah, the whole thing is suspect. So things start happening. There's all kinds of plot twists and things that they start noticing. People start kind of like disappearing and dropping off. So this is about them getting down to the truth of the whole thing and also trying to win this competition so they can be sent. I will say this leaves off on the biggest cliffhanger I have ever read in the history of ever. And I was so annoyed when I finished this because I was like, this can't be the end. This doesn't end here. This can't be happening because this cliffhanger, holy Jesus. It was the most action-packed scene of the whole book, and it just stops right there. And I was like, but what? Actual reaction. The biggest thing that really turned me off on this was that there is a romance in this that is just really not needed. It kind of is insta-lovey, and I just thought it was really cheesy. Just the romance was unneeded. I found myself eye rolling more than anything at it. Like, I would have rather seen like a slower progression to it, especially because they're very dramatic with each other. Like, oh God, I can't live my life without you. So I don't know what that I don't know what that accent was, but yeah, it was probably the biggest turnoff of the whole story. Plus, there was a lot of things that were convenient to the storyline, and there were a lot of plot holes. There's some things that happen and just aren't explained. Like, they're mentioned once or twice later on, but then it's just like never explained like what actually happened. So I ended up giving this, I believe, 3.5 out of 5 stars because I really enjoyed the audiobook, and I thought it was a pretty fast-paced and interesting read, but those few things just really kind of took it from the enjoyment, I guess, for me. Like, it's still I can't. And then the last audiobook I had to tell you guys is The Last Time I Lied, because oh my goodness, Riley, I think that's the last name. Riley did not disappoint. If you guys don't know, Final Girls by the same author has been one of my favorite audiobooks. I was very excited to read The Last Time I Lied, and it was fantastic. I love the setting of it. It's about this girl. Whenever she was at this camp, whenever she was younger, all of her cabin mates, 3 of her friends, disappeared. They were never heard from, never seen again, and so the camp kind of closed down because, you know, that's bad reputation. And this is like 20 years later, and she is asked to come back to the camp as like a counselor, and she agrees. So she goes back to this camp mostly so she can get some closure because she keeps seeing her friends everywhere, and she goes back and she kind of wants to find out what happened and see if she can figure out what exactly happened to her friends that night. There are some twists and turns and some mystery going on while she's at this camp. She thinks someone's following her. She thinks she keeps seeing one of the dead girls. Like, it's very highly suspicious, and I just love a camp scene. I don't know what it is about a camp scene, but it just makes things seem ookier and spookier times 10. I don't know. I just loved it. I also thought the pacing of this was really fantastic. I really just enjoyed that aspect of the story, and loved the fact that we have these missing girls and also an unreliable narrator. I just love it, and I think that it's just told so well. However, there was a few little aspects that I didn't really like. There is this weird storyline that we follow that I didn't think was really necessary involving the history of the camp and the lake. Didn't think it was necessary. It kind of seemed a little too weird to connect, and I just kind of was like, really? Why is this needed? And I know it was kind of, I guess, supposed to put us off on the wrong trail, but I saw through it the moment it was like introduced, and it was just so strange. It kind of seemed kind of like, I guess, Scooby-Doo-ish, because it was like
old creepy asylum.
I liked also that none of the characters in this were reliable. You had no idea who the heck you was supposed to be placing the blame on, because you kind of just wanted to place the blame on everyone. I also really liked the narrator. She was very likable and was very upfront about her flaws, but she was also like a confident kind of character, and I really liked her. I believed her from the moment we met her, because I loved her. Overall, I thought this was fantastic. I couldn't stop listening to it. I flew through it, but I really enjoyed this. Not quite as much as Final Girls, but still thought it was really fantastic, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Moving along, the one graphic novel that I read was Giant Days Volume 7. I think it's Volume 7, it might be Volume 7. And I checked this out on Hoopla, which is another digital service that you get through your library. And I love Giant Days so very much. I loved this one. I don't know what it was about this one that I don't know. I can't even tell you what it's about, just because it's mostly about these 3 girls that are going into college, and it's just about the drama of their lives and dealing with relationships and friendships and boys and going out and partying, and I don't know, this one was just so much fun. I think because we got to see a little more of some of the characters that aren't as prominent throughout it, and we got to see a little more into their relationships and how they are, and I just thought it was just so much fun. I just love the series. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. So the collection of short stories that I read was called Sit. This is a collection of short stories about chairs. Yep. And I had no idea what to expect going into this. It's really short, and I just was like, I'm assuming it's going to be fun. I mean, it was kind of fun, but these stories got so darn deep. Oh my goodness. There's one that follows like World War II. There's one that follows like after a tsunami hits and a girl has lost her mother. Like, this hit hard. It was interesting because you don't really think about the chairs as you're reading it, because a lot of it's like different. Like, some of them weren't actually chairs, it was things that you just used to sit on, hence sit. And I was surprised by the impact and like the deep topics that they hit without like really getting in there, I guess. Like, it was still light-hearted on deep subjects, but I just was really interested. I was so surprised by the author's creativity with picking out stories and writing these stories about sitting, that originated with sitting on something. But it was fairly enjoyable. I do wish there had been a little more substance to the stories. I think these could have been fantastic stories if they had been fleshed out more. They were just too short, I guess. Like, I read more as a middle grade than YA, and for all I know it could actually be middle grade, but when I found it was in the YA section, so I don't know. But I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. And I only have 2 other things to talk to you guys about, and one is an unpopular opinion. Although based on the things that I've said, some of you seem to agree with me. One of the YA books that I read was Shatter Me. Buddy read this with Amanda from Read All the Books, but I suck at Buddy reading anymore. So she had finished it, and then I finished it like 2.5 weeks later. The shame. The shame is real. I had no interest in reading this until I saw Chelsea Darlene Reed's talking about how she was rereading it and loving it, and from what I've heard, the first one is shit. And I agree. I hated it. It was awful. I hate the characters. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on. I hate the way it's written. Let me restart. It's a dystopian. Juliet has been put in jail because her touch kills people. This much I sort of kind of already know. A guy is thrown into the cell with her, and it's kind of weird because she keeps saying that she's not crazy, but it's written stream of conscience, so it kind of comes off a little crazy. There's things like marked out in the book, and I hated it. It just drove me nuts. It drove me nuts. This follows like about like what's going on in the world at this point. Like, apparently like nature has just given up. There's like no animals. They have no food. And there's apparently a rebellion group. It's about like Juliet basically getting to see that world and how things are and what's going on with the resistance, as well as like I don't even know what would the other one be. The resistance and the non-resistance. Anyway, I know the end game relationship, because this is very romance heavy. It doesn't really deal with action as much as it does romance. It's not a big old love triangle, we all know. Normally I don't mind. However, I know who the end game relationship is here, and Warren is an actual Nazi, and he's awful, and I don't understand how we're ever supposed to forgive him for the things that he has done. There's no excuse for the things that he has done to Juliet, and I honestly don't even want to read on, because I feel like y'all keep telling me, oh, it gets better, like they explain why he was that way, and it's like, okay, none of y'all give Reese a chance, so I'm not giving Warner a chance. That's all I gotta say. Okay? Some of y'all hypocrites. That's all. You don't like Reese, but you like Warren, and I don't get it because they're kind of two in the same here. They do awful things, and then I explain it later. I don't know. Anyway, I don't really know if I'm gonna continue on. You guys keep telling me that they get better. I gave Shatter Me 2.5 stars because I guess the other Adam kept me going. I like Adam. He's nice. He's kind. I don't know what happens to make him not that way. So I kind of don't want my memory of him tarnished at this point, but you guys keep telling me the series just gets better. We'll see. We'll see. And then the last book is Blood, Water, Paint. This was one that I hadn't really seen anyone talking about. However, Penguin had asked me, they sent out a list and they were like, hey, would you like some of the books on here? And I saw this, and the concept of it really interested me. This is historical fiction, and it actually is based around true events about this painter from the 15 to 1600s who was painting, and her father was taking credit for them, and that's how he was making his livelihood. And anyway, it is about her, and basically her father hires this mentor and he rapes her, and it is about her hardship with dealing with that, figuring out what to do, and going public with it in a world where women have no voice, they are property. Like, going to trial for this meant that like 99% of people weren't gonna believe her. Like, there was a good chance that she would be like disowned by society. So there's a lot of hardships going on in here. This is told in prose. Well, the one page I turned to isn't. This is told in prose, so it goes by really quickly, and I thought it was really well done because normally I don't like poetry, but I thought this was well done because it is about an artist, so it's an art form talking about an art form, and what better way to talk about the beauty of painting than in a prose form. And there are stories of Susanna, was that her name? This also has the stories of Susanna and Judith from the Bible, is that correct? Wow, Allie, showing my knowledge. But it has the stories of them and like the female empowerment in these stories and just standing up for what you believe and kind of just sticking it to the man. So it was a really empowering story. I thought it was really well done. It kind of talked about the hardships and the awfulness of rape without being like too graphic. Like, it was still very much to the point, but it didn't go into details. So was it my favorite? No. I do think that it would have been nice to get a little more into like the politics of that time, because I feel like I had no idea that this took place in the 15 to 1600s till I got to the author's note. Like, I just had a hard time placing it because we never leave the studio, which I guess in turn our main character doesn't. But I would have liked to see more of society and the political system, so I would have had a better understanding of just how hard this would have been for her. Like, we get a little glimpse into the trial and the things that they do, but overall I just didn't get the whole picture, so I would have liked a little more background into that. Also, a little less of like Susanna and Judith's story. Like, maybe that could have been condensed a little bit more, because I feel like those were dragged out maybe to make the book a little longer. I feel like the mix of them though, it brought a little something else to the table. I give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend it. I would. I thought it was pretty well done. Those are all the things that I read in July. I'm hoping to have a better reading month in August. It is August 3rd and I've already read 3 things. So your girl doing I might get back into it. My luck, that's gonna be the only 3 things I read on. Let me know if you guys have read any of these things and if you agree or disagree with the things that I have said. Hope that you guys have liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe to see future wrap-ups from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!